all our Herald TV viewers a warm welcome. You are watching a program entitled Health and Happiness. It is critical to enjoy good health for good living, and we have had this problem of diabetes. Diabetes now is a problem which is recurring. They say that India is the world's capital of the people with diabetes. We have talked extensively about what it is. Diabetes, the type 1, type 2, type 3 is not so common. And the diet and nutrition plays a very critical role in controlling diabetes and the quality of life. We have had the first episode that we launched where the expert with us, Assistant Professor Cheryl Afonso de Souza. She is with the only home science college in Goa and has been an expert in this field. We once again welcome Cheryl.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lopez.
Lots of reactions from the first program, and then many of them said, yes, we have now understood what is the sugar related problem, simple sugar and complex sugar, and you made it very, very simple.
Thank you.
We said we will distribute our programs. We talked about carbohydrates.
Yes.
And then we said we will talk about fats, oil that has to be used in our food. Are fats needed, and what oils do you think we should use?
Yes, definitely. Many people believe that fat is an unnecessary nutrient. But the very fact that we consider it as one of the macronutrients which the body requires in large amounts tells us that it does have some beneficial roles to play. Simply put, if you look at the structure of your cell, every cell in the human body has a lipoprotein layer, which is nothing else but fat. We have hormones produced in our body to run our organ systems, and the base of a hormone is again a fat, a sterol. You have your brain, which is about 60 to 70% fat. Functioning of the brain depends upon the fatty tissue that is there in it, and so to your nervous system. So it's wrong to say that fat is not required in our diet. We definitely require to have certain minimal quantities of fat, and we as nutritionists would classify this group of lipids into fats and oils. So if you look at a fat is something that is solid at room temperature, whereas an oil is liquid at room temperature. So butter, ghee, these are fats that we consume often, and our cooking oils like your groundnut, mustard oil, those are oils, both very required for health.
Yeah, but all of a sudden some group came up to say that we don't need it at all.
Yes, that's very sad actually, because of the caloric value of associated with the fat. Now, if you look at it number by number, when we talk about carbohydrates, 1 gram of a carbohydrate gives us about 4 kilocalories, whereas 1 gram of a fat gives us 9 kilocalories.
It's almost double.
Double, more than double. Yeah. And that's where, you know, the error lies. Because of the fact that the more fat we eat, there is the tendency, of course, to put on weight and to create so many other lifestyle disorders.
And very often they, say it's cholesterol. Fats give you cholesterol without sometimes realizing that our own liver also produces cholesterol.
Yes, that's a very important point actually that you brought up for all of us to realize that cholesterol, which is again given a bad name, is required, and the very fact that our own body, our own liver is producing it tells us that cholesterol is an important type of fat.
Yeah, and very often they talk about triglycerides.
Yes.
And they say that the triglycerides are more dangerous than the VLDL or LDL.
Because of the fact that triglycerides, high levels of triglycerides can create disruption in our arterial system, and the fact that triglycerides are not only affected by the fat consumption but also by the amount of carbohydrate in our diet. So when we see high triglyceride levels in our reports, we have to be aware that it's not only about reducing the total amount of fat in our diet, but it's also about reducing the sugars, the simple sugars that we spoke
Yes.
about last time. That also needs to be reduced, and that's why triglycerides are worse.
That's the reason they say that your non-alcoholic fatty liver disease,
Yes, yes.
that is on the rise.
That is on the rise, very much so in Goa also, because of the high consumption of simple carbohydrates in our diet.
Yes. So it is a fact that we need fats.
Definitely, definitely.
Now, there are good fats, there are bad fats. What is it?
Yes, I would just like to say that it's at the end of the day the total amount of fat that we consume, which is very important. We have something called a recommended allowance for it, and nobody should go beyond a consumption of 20 grams of visible fat. So when I say visible fat, it is the fat that I would use in my cooking, maybe the amount of oil that I would use in regular daily cooking, or the butter or the ghee. Now if we were to look at again the fat and the oil, fats which are solid at room temperature, the butter and the ghee, are saturated in nature. They have higher amounts of saturated fats, and they would be slightly more, create more harm to our body than an unsaturated fat, which is the oils that we consume.
Yes. So you say butter.
Yes.
Now I think everybody in Goa
Loves butter bread.
Loves butter,
Yes.
but it is the quantity that would matter the
True.
most.
Yes. So we can restrict ourselves on a daily basis to maybe consuming not more than 8 to 10 grams maximum of a combination of butter and ghee in cooking. We are safe.
In the olden days in Goa, people used to have dalda, for example.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden dalda disappeared, but now I believe it has
It's come back because there are other companies that have come up with similar products, and dalda is what we would refer to as a hydrogenated vegetable oil. So we would have a liquid oil which is liquid in nature, and industrially you would introduce hydrogen into it and therefore convert the liquid into a solid. What are we then doing is we are playing around with the chemical composition, and this is where these hydrogenated oils, dalda being one of them, is really bad for health.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden people talk of mono, poly. What is all this?
It is in fats, like I said, there is the saturated and the unsaturated fat. So an unsaturated fat has number of double bonds in it. When it has just one double bond, it's a monounsaturated. When it has more than one, it is polyunsaturated. Initially, research told us that polyunsaturated fats were very good for health, and that's why we had a lot of people consuming the sunflower oil and the safflower oil. Further research then brought us to the conclusion that monounsaturated fats were healthier. That's then where olive oil came in, walnuts came in, because the type of fatty acid profile of each of these is different.
Yeah, and then people talked about omega-3, omega-6, the ratio.
Yes. So omega-3 fatty acids, like we know it, is the fish, the fat present in the fish, very good source of omega-3 fatty acids. Again, it's an unsaturated fat, very much required for brain health and heart health. Omega-6 fatty acids are the ones that you would get in your cooking oils.
Yeah.
And initially, like I said, it was always presumed and suggested that we eat more of 6 to omega-3, but now the ratio is a little more balanced, and we say there should be an equal proportion of it, with of course a little more leeway given to the omega-3 fatty acids.
Yeah, because now even there is one school of thought which says a ratio should be 1:1.
Yes, that's true. So 1:1
correct?
is the correct ratio that we need to be consuming.
And very often people talk about, we do not know anything about omega-3 or omega-6. And all of a sudden you have now this refined, and now you have got super refined, and
Yes.
people feel that super refined would be super oils.
Yes.
What are these basically? How are these refined oils produced?
It boils down again to the entire processing technology that is used in the food industry. Just like we like everything that is white, we would like clear oils. So the refining process is nothing else but improving the clarity of the oil. That's where you have different chemicals used to remove all the particles which give it a sort of a translucent look. So in a super refined oil, you're making it even more clear. Whether it is healthy, not healthy, no two ways about it. The more I refine a product, the more I detract from the nutritional value
So,
of the
but
product.
basically it's a chemical.
It is a chemical. It is
You
chemicals
have
used.
deodorizers, bleaching
Yes,
agents that are
yes, added.
And sometimes they also talk that hexane also is mixed sometimes.
Yeah, just to provide the stability to the oil.
Yeah. And they relate this to a lot of problems, heart attacks, stroke, Alzheimer's, dementia, and so on and so forth.
Very much so. That's because all of these, when I refine anything and when I'm adding chemicals to it, which is not visible to us, but we're consuming it. So a cumulative effect after a period of time is going to create disruption in the systems within the body.
But people feel it is easy to locate this oil, go to a supermarket, it is readily available, and you don't pay much higher
Much
price.
of an amount, yeah. There's not much of a variation in the difference of price between all these types of oils. But that's where awareness comes in, and why we need to remember that the unrefined oils maybe are healthier. Another thing that people don't understand is that besides the fatty acid present in the oil, oils also a very good source of vitamin E. And the more I refine it, the more I'm losing out on the vitamin E.
Yeah, but then this type of knowledge and understanding is not reaching to the common people.
Slowly with your show, I'm sure it's going to reach millions now, thanks to you.
In Goa now, prior to liberation, it was coconut oil.
Yes.
It was coconut oil.
Yes.
And we never heard so many cases of heart attacks and stroke. What do you feel about the coconut oil?
Coconut oil is one of the healthiest oils to my understanding. Yes, it got again a bad name for itself because it was, if you look at coconut oil, the pure extract of coconut oil, and once the temperatures drop, like even if you try to keep coconut oil in the fridge, it tends to get a little cloudy. So people said that it had a high saturated fat content, which is true. It has higher amounts of saturated fat as compared to your groundnut oil or mustard oil or olive oil. But after a period of time, we realized with further research that the profile of saturated fat is such that it's actually heart healthy.
Yeah, but they also talk about the medium chain
Triglycerides. Yes.
And they say that all saturated fats don't behave similarly.
No. So medium chain triglycerides, the chain length of the fatty acid is smaller, and therefore it is healthier in terms of even digestion processes. And luckily for us, coconut oil has a medium chain triglyceride profile in it, and therefore again that's another reason why it's a much healthier oil.
Yeah. Now in those days it was the dry coconut.
The copra.
With water it was discarded.
Yes.
So, and you would dry it and take to the mill, and extract
Extract.
was there. Now they are talking of a new process of coconut oil, and they call it as the virgin coconut oil, VCO.
Yes.
Yeah. And VCO is from a tender coconut where there is a water.
Yes.
And if you remember, in India itself, Kachigani, this was very, very popular, except that the people would not like it for the smell and the impurities maybe which were there. But still now people have realized that that is one of the best oil, because is it true that from the seed, the mustard seed, you would extract it by that old wood process?
Yes, yes, very much true, because there was minimal amount of refining. That's why even today many people don't like mustard oil because of the strong flavors, the strong smells, and the possibility of the residue that is visible to us. But if we look at pure mustard oil, it has an excellent profile of monounsaturated fat in it, which is very good for health.
Yeah.
But like you said, we are also used to these refined oils. You get refined mustard oil,
Yes.
which is really clear to look at, but you're losing out on nutritional value.
Yeah. So you would say that that wood processed was the right process.
Definitely better. We also have the concept of cold pressed oil. So when you spoke about virgin coconut oils, we have to remember that they're called virgin because we don't use very high temperatures in order to extract the oil from the seed. And in doing this, we are able to better retain the nutritional profile.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about virgin coconut oil, They now talk about the centrifuge new process which has come.
Yes.
And again, not a high temperature.
Yes.
But you can also produce this coconut oil, wet coconut oil, with a less amount of a temperature also.
Yes. So these type of oils would always be healthier because we're able to preserve the nutritional value, which is vitamin E, and we're also able to preserve the fatty acid profile of these oils.
And they also talk about the content of lauric acid. Could you elaborate as what is lauric acid? And they say that mother's milk also has
Contains
got
lauric acid. Lauric acid and myristic acid are two of the saturated fats that are present in our fats like butter, ghee and coconut oil or our tropical palm oils. They contain these profiles of lauric and myristic acid. So we do know that although saturated fats in general would promote a cardiovascular disease by clogging our arteries. But the very fact that they do contain some amounts of this or really relatively high amounts of lauric acid, like if you look at coconut oil, it has about 49% of lauric acid. And like you rightly said, this is the type of fat that is also present in breast milk.
Yeah, and they say that now the tendency is to breastfeed your infant for 2 years.
Yes.
The more the child is breastfed, they say that the immunity,
is
the
much
power
stronger.
of resistance to the disease increases.
Is much stronger.
It is correct.
Yes, very true. Exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life for sure, which means not even a drop of water or no honey or no other external fluid, but just breast milk for the first 6 months. After that, you can taper it off by introducing complementary foods, but don't go off breastfeeding till at least 2 years of age. Of course, it becomes a little difficult, but expressing breast milk is now easily, done and should be promoted.
Yeah. So you would say that there's nothing wrong in consuming coconut oil.
Absolutely not. No.
Provided again, not in large
quantity. The quantities. We always have to look at the quantities of the oil. One more really good thing with coconut oil is that it has a high smoke point. So in Indian cooking and even in Goan cooking, we use frying as a medium of cooking, which requires an oil that can withstand high temperatures, and coconut oil does that.
And most of the hotels, I was told, I'm not sure about this, they use palm oil.
Yes, unfortunately now with palm oil, the type of oil, because it is cheaper, they're using an absolutely unrefined oil and they're reusing the oil. So when you're using an unrefined oil, reuse is not permitted at all because then the residues
you never know
are
whether it is being reheated
exactly.
twice or thrice.
Yes. So then this creates problems.
Per se, what is your take on palm oil?
Palm oil, again, quantity is what we need to maintain. So whether it is the red palm oil in fact is much, much healthier because it has carotene in it, and carotene in addition to the vitamin A improves the antioxidant profile of the oil. So red palm oil is a good oil, but the totally unrefined palm oil that we often see in the market, that's something that we need to be a little careful with.
Yeah, why?
Again, because of the fact that it has not been purified to an extent which would remove certain impurities from it, which can create health problems.
And in Goa, I remember, especially for the Catholic weddings, pulao was, and pulao would be from the animal fat.
Yes,
the lard
that was used. In fact, even in making patties and all, lard was used to a great extent because it created those nice crispy layers that you would see in the patties. Quantity, that's what we need to be careful with. Lard, tallow, these are fats that are used across the world, but when we overdo the amounts, then it becomes unhealthy.
So, there is no dispute that we need fats, we need oil.
Definitely, definitely. We need them right from the time that you are born till, again, the day you die, you require oil, but we need to be very clear with the amounts that we are using in our cooking.
And they say that the coconut oil can also be used for your hair, for
your
skin.
It has so many other benefits. These the coconut oil, and because again of the type of fat that is present in it, it's easily absorbed by the skin, and to create suppleness in the skin, these type of fats are required, and that's why it's promoted.
Okay. And then they say that, like olive oil, they say olive oil is one of the best oils. In Europe, in America, you have olive plants. You come to India, you come to Asia, you have coconut trees. So I think there's a balance between
It
the
is.
two.
So again, indigenous use of indigenous oils is what I would always promote. Olive oil has been rampantly used now in Goa by a lot of families, but we have to remember that, like you rightly said, olive is grown in the Mediterranean region, and that's why the people of those areas, and if you look at the type of diet that they consume also, they're eating a lot of salads in their meals, they're eating fish in its purest form. They're not frying fish the way we are, they're drizzling olive oil over their salads or their fish. So in that way, it is good to consume the olive oil, but we are using it in a wrong way.
Yeah.
And that's why, that's why I feel that people need to be informed about the type of olive oil that can be used. Why is coconut oil better? Is because coconut oil can withstand high temperatures, olive oil
So
cannot.
the smoke point
The
is
smoke point is higher of coconut oil. So it's wrong for us to heat olive oil. The moment we start doing that, we are losing the nutritional value of the olive oil.
So they say that for frying you should not use
olive oil at all. Should not.
You're with it.
That is, yes, definitely with it. So that's the mistake that we make in many Goan households. We buy olive oil, which is healthy, but we tend to heat it to high temperatures, and we lose out on the benefits of it.
And then they talk about ghee.
Yes.
And ghee can be made at home.
Yes.
What is your take on
Yes,
ghee?
definitely. Ghee is again saturated fat, and we have a line of medicine which believes that ghee is good for health in various aspects. As a nutritionist, I would always raise caution to the fact that at the end of the day, it's the quantities that we are consuming, so we cannot indiscriminately use ghee. The profile of ghee is good, similar to that of butter, slightly similar to that of coconut oil. So yes, use ghee, but use it in restricted amounts.
Those who have the Indian bread, when I say Indian bread, it's
The
your
rotis,
chapatis,
the
rotis.
chapatis, yes.
They say with the ghee,
It doesn't taste nice. It's heavenly, right?
Yes.
Yeah, when you put a dollop of ghee. So again, if you can put half a teaspoon and enjoy your chapati with that ghee, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, but ghee is from the milk.
Yes.
Now, people are not very sure about the quality of milk that we get from the cows or buffaloes, because now they say that they are using oxytocin, and they are also
Injecting
heavy
hormones.
doses of antibiotics.
Antibiotics, yes.
So milk is now
Unfortunately, that is the truth, because all of these are held in the fatty tissue, and milk has a percentage of fat in it. So some of these residual effects will be there in the type of milk, in the milk that we are getting. It can affect the quality of ghee, and we have to exercise caution, of course, in
because
these matters.
goat's milk, they say, is much better than the cows and the buffaloes, easily digestible. And in those days, we had goats in the villages, and they would be taken for grazing because grass also was there. But today, the whole scenario has changed.
In fact, goat's cheese is also very much promoted for health, the feta cheese that we get. But the taste is a little different, so I think our palate is not used to goat's milk, and that's why it's lost its real value in Goa.
So you would say that consumption of ghee, good
Safe. It's
quality
safe.
ghee.
Good quality ghee is safe. You brought up the point of using hydrogenated vegetable oils. Many people will substitute that for ghee. Don't do that. Don't do that. So if you're using ghee, it is expensive, very expensive, because very expensive because of the fact that from the amount of from 1 liter of milk, you would get very little cream to actually make ghee, even if you're making it at home, and that's why it raises the value or the cost of the ghee. So don't go for a cheaper quality. Don't go for a substitute like hydrogenated vegetable oil. Stick to the natural. Stick to pure ghee, and you're safe.
So the quality matters.
Quality matters for sure.
And can it be prepared at home by the housewife?
Yes, it does. It's so simple. All you need to do is every time you heat milk, you remove the cream out and you collect it till you get a substantial quantity, and then you churn it in your mixer. It will separate into two. You'll have a thickened layer of butter, and then you'll have the buttermilk.
So they say it's a clarified butter?
You clarify it, and then
Yes.
you heat it a little bit, and
Yes.
that you get your ghee.
So that would be the best.
The best way. It
Yeah.
takes time, it takes effort,
Yeah.
and that's where we we lose out. I think we don't have time now
Yeah.
to do
So
that.
I think we have covered exhaustively and extensively on the need of fats and oils.
In our diets.
And that's very, very important.
True, very true.
Yes.
So no skipping out on the fats in any way. Just be careful with the total quantities and the quality of fat in terms of choosing more of the unsaturated over the saturated fats.
The only thing is about the coconut VCO, virgin coconut oil, is expensive.
Everything comes at a price, right? So yes, you may have to shell out a little extra money for the virgin coconut oil, but it does your health of a good deal of good.
I remember we had tender coconuts in our young days, college days, 3 or 4 rupees. Then later on it went to 10, and now I believe it is something
40
like
or 50
40
rupees
or 50.
for tender coconut.
And original, when we had coconut oil, again coconuts were 5 rupees, 6 rupees, they were available. The cost now is gone up.
Yes. So we have to just move with the times, I guess, but keep remembering that traditional is always the best. And if our forefathers did it without any effects on health, there must be some truth to why these oils are promoted, the tropical oils, and we have to go with them.
So we are going back to the old days.
Yes, very true. Traditional is always best.
Traditional.
We are beginning to realize that today.
Assistant Professor, thank you very much for throwing light extensively and exhaustively so that people are educated and they make a conscious decision that fat is needed, oils are needed, but which ones is left up to them. Thank you very much for being with us, and we know that we are promoting good health.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Lopez. Always a pleasure. And thank you for bringing this information to the public. Makes a world of difference.
Thank you so much. May God bless you.
Thank you.